Good morning, everybody. Today, I'd like to start with a simple exercise. For a second there, imagine yourself 5 years into the future. It's a pleasant November morning, it's a Saturday, but it's 2022. What does 2022 look like for you? Where do you stay? What work do you do? Who do you stay with? When I ask others this question, then the answers I get are mostly very inspiring. I hear things like, I would be studying in one of the best universities in the world at that time. I would have definitely written a book by then. I would like to start up my own company by then. You see how all these answers, all these statements talk about a future that's an improvement from the present. It's a step change. It's for a better future, right? Nobody really says, in 5 years, I'm going to be penniless and broke, right? So here's the catch. When asked, when we're able to dream of a future that is so much bigger and better and brighter than our present, why is it that we are so scared to make that future a goal and work towards it? My name is Kaushik Mukherjee. I'm an entrepreneur, a triathlete, but before all of that, I'm a pretty typical product of an average middle-class family. And today, here on the TEDx platform, I have a confession to make. Goals scare the hell out of me. And there's a reason for that. What if I fail? I used to ask this question to myself for many, many years, till one day, it just stopped making sense. I asked myself, look, you're born in a country where you're, by default, competing with 1 billion other people for everything from traffic on the streets to even a seat in an auditorium like this. So when exactly did fear of failure creep in? This is not something which we are born with. This is called social conditioning. We've learned to be fearful of failure. And because we have learned to be fearful of failure, we are always trying to set goals that we are most likely to achieve. And that got me thinking. The first time I realized that was when I was 25. I was working, I had a pretty predictable trajectory in my career. Schooling, followed by engineering, followed by, any guesses? Management, no, that was far away. An IT job. So I was pretty much very, very predictable. And then one day, if you were to ask me how did a typical day at office look like, it was very simple. This was my first job. Playing a lot of table tennis, having a lot of free coffee, and basically being the king of my comfort zone. I was killing it at my first job. And then one day, during a presentation with the senior management, so we were just setting up the projector, and I was there, my manager was there, my manager's manager was there, her director was there, and suddenly, in one view, I could just see my entire life in front of me. I could see who I would be when I'd be 30, 35, 45, and it was a very, very sobering thought. That's when I decided that something had to change. I'd have to do something to bring about a quantum leap in my life. I decided to set a goal that would terrify me. So I started by saying, okay, let me first look back and see what are the goals I've actually set in my life in the past. And in typical geek, nerdy fashion, I tried plotting them on a graph. I said, okay, let's divide goals and take simple goals, let's take difficult goals. Let's take goals where I'm likely to succeed and goals where I'm most likely to fail. And the thing that shocked me the most from this exercise was that almost all my goals that I had set till date were in one quadrant, the safe quadrant. I mean, that was quite a turning point in my life. I asked myself, how am I ever going to grow, do amazing things in life if I continue year after year after year to set goals in my safe space? And I said, okay, this will not do. I needed a goal that's going to be bigger than anything I've done before. This was about 12 years back when MBA degrees were being peddled as the fastest ticket to a super fabulous life. And I decided, okay, I'm going to earn an admission into one of the best business schools in the country. I'm going to appear for the CAT exam, and I wanted a seat at IIM Ahmedabad. There was only one problem with that. 2.5 lakh applicants, 250 seats, 0.1%. I could not get over that number. And of course, the fact that I finished in the bottom half of my class in engineering didn't help. But then I thought, look, I have nothing to lose. Nobody expects me to get in anyway. So let's fight like I have nothing to lose. And I started preparing. I started taking tests, I started taking practice tests, attending classes, and as the days kept as we kept getting closer to the date of the exam, I knew that there were a lot of people I was competing with who were smarter than me, who were much more intelligent than me. But I thought, okay, let me work harder than them and try to level the playing field. So I started psyching myself as the date of the exam started coming closer. I used to do some pretty crazy things. I used to, while taking practice tests, I used to change the time on my watch to 10 o'clock because I wanted to get acclimatized to how my watch would look during the actual time of the exam, because 10 o'clock was when the exam started. I took an exam in the same dress I would wear on the final day. I took an exam with TV blaring in the next room, just in case there was a wedding reception next to the on the day of the exam. While commuting from my home to office, I used to bike that time, and I developed this habit of seeing the car in front of me. I used to take the number plate, the 4 digits in the number plate, split them down the middle, and try to multiply the left 2 numbers by the right 2 numbers just to get better at mental math. Now that I think about it, this is like some serious crazy thing. But in 2006, when the results came out, and I got a call from every single one of the top business schools in the country, I knew that something inside me had changed. I was not scared to set goals beyond the bottom left quadrant anymore. Set a goal where you're likely to fail, because nobody anyways expects you to achieve it, and without the burden or expectation, you have no idea how much you can achieve. I didn't. 2008, there's a bit of daredevilry that creeps in the final year of every education course, right? In the final year, you stop attending classes, you start hanging out more with friends, you plan to conquer the world, and I did that. I was 4 months away from graduating from IIM Ahmedabad with one of the highest paying jobs in campus. It was an investment banking job in New York. My batchmate who actually took up the offer went on to net 1 crore in salary. It still pinches. And and I was taking part in a few B-plan contests and case studies, and I suddenly thought that, you know what, I can do this. I should start a company of my own. And I was torn. There was a part of me which said, you know the typical things people say, get some experience, get some money, better play safe. And there was a part of me which said, no, now is the time and I should do it. So here's the thing, at 26, single, without liabilities, I was just too young to trade comfort for passion. So I decided to start up something of my own. I started an online e-commerce site. I know, I look very funny there, I know. So yeah, that's me. So we started an online e-commerce portal. And when we started, it was interesting. There was a lot of press coverage. People said, congratulations. Although I really don't know what they were congratulating me for, because I had built nothing. But anyways, as time passed, after 6 months, the press coverage reduced. We got down to work, and then we realized that things weren't working out. And no investor would even touch our business model with a 10-foot pole. So I changed the business model. I said, okay, instead of an e-commerce portal, let's make it a bargaining portal. Did not work. Okay, let's make a bargaining algorithm and give it to other people. Did not work. Okay, let's try recommending price. Let's try tweaking the engine so it could recommend insurance premiums. What was the, any guesses what happened? You know the answer to this. Of course, it did not work. So at the end of it, I realized that, it's not working out. Let me just go back and get back to a job. And in those 2 years, I realized something, that, there never is a best time. There's only now and there's later. And the choice is yours when you want to start. Because if somebody told me today that, look, for the first 2 years, given my skills, given everything I am, for the first 2 years, you are going to be doing things that you're going to be failing at. You are going to be doing things which will not work out. I would play it exactly the same way. I would rather make my mistakes, learn from my failures when I was 26, then later, and that's what I did. I knew that my first shot at shaping the now didn't work out, but I also knew that next time I would start from a much stronger place. And well, that place came pretty soon. This was 2012. And I'd finished 2 years in my organization at that time. And it's interesting how we read a lot about how you're supposed to focus on the goal in hand. But what's also interesting is that nobody really tells us what not to focus on. I'm going to ask you to humor me a bit. So does anybody have a pen or pencil in their pockets? Anything? Anything at all? Okay, if you do, let me see if I have one. Yeah, I have one. Okay, so just hold it up right here, right? Now, when you hold up something like this, right? Imagine this, and if you don't have a pen or pencil, you can just use your finger as well. Now, imagine the tip of the pencil as your goal, right? You have now defined the goal, and now start slowly moving towards the pencil. Start moving towards your goal. You see what's happening here? You know what's happening here right now? You are blurring in the background. I can't see you anymore because I'm focused on the goal. Why are you blurring? Because compared to my goal, you're not important. Compared to the goal, the background is not important. If you change your focus from the goal to the background, you're not focusing on the goal anymore. You know what the background is? Background is people telling you that, this is not a good time. Why don't you get some why don't you get some experience and do that later? There's another thing that's happening. What's happening? I look ridiculous. So sometimes when you're chasing goals, you end up looking ridiculous. You end up doing really funny things. People laugh. Let them laugh. It's not their goal anyways. It's your goal, and it's up to you to maintain focus on the goal and let some fires burn in the background. When I decided to start off for the second time, my well-wishers gave me a really hard time. There were things like, you just got married. Why don't you start a family? Look at what everybody else is doing. There were others who said, your batchmates, not just the batchmate who made a lot of money, every batchmate, they were buying houses, they were buying fancy cars, and they're like, look at them, don't you feel like you should also do the same thing? What happens if you fail again? Your career recovered from one, but your career is not going to recover from a second debacle. But my heart was set, and I said, okay, I owe it to myself to try again. And I did. Fast forward 5 years, and luckily the well-wishers aren't so upset with me anymore. In spite of a journey of ups and downs, I'm grateful to share that today I run a 5-year-old venture-backed company with multi-million-dollar revenues, and last year, for the first time, we turned profitable. So it's sometimes you got to listen to the voice inside you which says, let's just ignore all the voices in the background for a while and just focus on the tip of the pencil. You may look ridiculous, but it's your best shot at getting there. Now, this is the story that's closest to my heart. It's also what's most recent. In 2011, I married the love of my life. In 2011, my wife married the second love of her life, because her first love is and will always be running. She runs. She's half marathon, ultra marathoners, and for many, many years, I cheered her from the stands, actually mostly the couch. But I cheered her. And in 2015, we were blessed with a little baby, and that's when it was wonderful. Life was beautiful, exciting, and beyond all the social media pictures, we were drowning. We were drowning in a sea of expectations, responsibilities, and diapers, a lot of diapers. You don't know. I'm not going there. So, and given the kind of individuals we were, we started asking ourselves, is this it? Has life changed? Are we done? We're not going to set goals, grow anymore. And in one of those moments of introspection, I remember asking my wife at that time, hey, do you want to sign up for a run sometime? It de-stresses you. She said, yeah, that sounds like a good idea. I should do that. I said, okay. And there's a full marathon coming up, the Mumbai Marathon. Do you want to sign up for that as well? She's like, yeah, why? Thank you. Sounds great. Why don't you sign up for an Ironman instead? Have you lost it? I'll explain. The Ironman Triathlon is largely known as the toughest single-day endurance event in the world. I'll explain. The event comprises of a 3.8-kilometer swim. That is not a typo. I thought it was a typo the first time I saw that. Followed by a 180-kilometer bike ride, followed by a full marathon of 42 kilometers. And you have to complete this all together back-to-back within a span of 17 hours. And the whole idea seemed so out of the box, so we didn't talk about it for a long while. But we also couldn't stop thinking about it. And one day, in 2015, I created a folder on the E drive of my laptop. I said, Ironman 2017. And I did some research, and I listed all the races between that time, 2015, till 2017, and made folders of it. And slowly, we started signing up for these races. We started really small and did a triathlon which was quarter the distance of a full Ironman. We just wanted to see if we could swim, we could cycle, we could run, and not end up in the nearest hospital. So on the final day of the race, by the end of it, we were dehydrated, we were burnt, we were in pain, but we were also very, very stoked. We were like, okay, we did this. And we really wanted to see how far we could push it, because this seemed like a ticket, an escape from where we were at that moment. So we started planning. And we were the usual suspects. Any triathlon in India, we would just show up there. We just showed up there. And slowly the distances started increasing from quarter to half Ironman distances, from half Ironman distances to 3/4 Ironman distances. And we faced everything you could imagine. There was an open water lake swim wherein I felt dizzy and I was out of breath. So I had to hold on to one of the rescue kayaks. There was a race where there was an SUV coming from the other side, and it collided with my wife's bike, and she had a fall. There were so many runs when there was lactic acid buildup in my muscles, and I was just too cramped to run, so I had to walk more than 20, 25 kilometers just to reach the finish line. But on July 2nd, 2017, earlier this year, when we were at the start line of the race at Austria with thousands of other athletes, we were nervous, but we weren't scared. We had done everything in our power to get to that point, and when the race cannon fired and we dove head first into the water, we knew what we were set for. We fought the hardest we have ever physically fought in our lives. We fought against complacency. We fought against people telling us that your life has changed, but we had to reach the finish line. And after 16 hours of extreme pain and fatigue, when we finally reached the finish line, it was glorious. Thank you. Thank you. This was not an endeavor for a title of being called an Ironman triathlete or a medal, although it's a pretty good-looking medal. But this was more to tell ourselves that if we plan and just take small wins at a time, how far could we go? Just a couple of weeks back, there was a friend of mine who was visiting, and he said, okay, I've seen the medal. Can I have a look at the medal? And I'm going to move off the light for a bit. And then I said, okay, here is what the medal looks like. And my friend said, wow, this medal looks really awesome. And that struck me, and I told him, you know what, this medal might look awesome, but this medal didn't make me. You want to see what made me? You want to see what made me who I am and made this medal possible? Then you're going to look at the folder over there. And then you have to look at all that the folder got me. This. Because the world might look at this, but I know that without this would have never happened. So in closing, I'd just like to say that in life, whatever we go through is typically what we grow through. I was a person who used to get a panic attack whenever I had to come on stage to speak. And about 3 months back, I set a terrifying goal for myself to come and ask all of you to start setting terrifying goals. See how life changes? I'm sure 5 months or 6 months back when PSIT decided that, okay, you know what, we should have a TEDx talk. That was a goal, right? A terrifying goal. And look at what's happening right now. We are here. I am speaking. And this is happening. It's getting recorded. Tomorrow, millions of people are going to watch it. It's amazing, right? So I'd just like to end and say that there's no point in thinking about what happens if we fail. Nothing is irreversible except death. No chance is the last chance until you decide to fatigue. Fall down 7, stand up 8. Our goals are for us to chase. Thank you very much, PSIT. This has been very special. Thank you. Thank you.